Thank you. Hello everybody, my name is Craig Bennett and I'm the founder and owner of TechReviews Nope, and today we're going into another Android tutorial. In this one we're going to get into the best practices for networking and RESTful. So as far as that goes, this is very important when it comes up to if you're going to go into this in a career field, because again I said this out through the last 2 or 3 videos. You will be doing some of this in the workplace. So it's very important to note the best practices, and these may change over time. So with this, the first and one of the bigger ones you're going to run into is transfer only as much data as needed to complete the task. Why is this important? Well, basically, let's say I'm in the North Carolina, and for those of you who don't know about North Carolina, it's a lot of farm areas. And most people in the first world countries will know this, especially if you're in the United States. Cities are around Walmarts. Basically, Walmarts implants themselves in middle of cities. So by saying how far you are from Walmart, that tells you how far you are from cities. Well, I am 15 miles one way to get to the nearest Walmart, going at 60 miles an hour. The other way, 15 miles to get to that Walmart, going 60 miles an hour. And as far as anything else, it's probably north-south, it's several hours. So I'm out in the middle of nowhere. So why is this important? My data is definitely not going to be as capable as someone who lives in New York or Chicago or San Francisco, one of these major cities. And that's very important to note, because transfer only as much data you need. Well, let's say that I pull up Pandora to listen to some music. I'm out in my yard working on some beehives or whatever, and what happens is it's trying to pull up some video ads and transfers all that into the phone and some whatever else. I'm not going to be able to get the music. It's going to be spending more time transferring the ads and the video ads and whatnot, and instead of transferring the music. And what do you think the user, myself, is going to do? I'm switch products or switch companies to get what I want. And that's very important, because if you're in the business, you need to be able to keep the customers you have and gain new ones. So because of this, there's avoid network timeouts. So let's say the person's in some third world country where, and this is not a joke, a lot of third world places will have a high demand for prepaid phones, and mostly because they might be able to get signal, go out to town and get signal once a month. So we're going to get a lot of places that are very remote, even to today in 2016. So with this, what you're going to run into is you're going to get a lot of people that takes 30 seconds to get something basic, more or less. You don't want to time out if possible. Of course, having network timeouts is important. And for those who don't know what a network timeout is, it's basically I send you a request, or let's talk about like email. So I'm sending you a business email. I might wait for you to reply for 5 minutes, and if I don't get anything back, then I walk away and do something else. And the same thing happens here. Is the application will send something out to the server, so like update weather, and it'll wait for whatever amount of time you gave it, and then it will cancel out, and it will tell the user, given that you told it to do this, hey, you don't have internet signal, or we can't connect to the servers, please try again later, something like that. Of course, you're going to need this to some degree, and that's pretty important to note. Another thing is allow users to cancel network operations. Why is this important? Well, again, you're dealing with a lot of people across the world who can be using your particular application. And like myself, I got data caps. I got data caps both on my home internet and mobile phone. Unfortunately, this is how things are in the United States at this time with the current laws and stuff like this. Well, if you go pretty much anywhere across the United States, this may or may not change, but for the most part, most people will have some type of data caps, or they don't want to wait 3 hours to download something, and because they're going to be home in 10 minutes, and they can just download it from on their home computer, something like that. And let's say that you're using a podcast system. Well, the podcast may take 3 hours on the current network. So the person says, "Oh, I just want to cancel out that," or they didn't know the large how big the file is going to be, so they need to be able to cancel out on that, and that way their data plan isn't eaten up from one download. Handle failures gracefully. This is important because if a failure happens, a network timeout, no communication, cancellations, stuff like that, your application needs to be able to handle that. And depending on the application, so say for example, if it's a Netflix application, for those who don't know, Netflix is a movie streaming service, movie and TV streaming service. And that means you're going to have internet access. There's just no two ways around it. For them, they can't handle it gracefully. Pandora, they can't handle that gracefully because that's a internet music streaming service, Pandora. Facebook, they can handle it gracefully. You might say, wait a second, the social stuff is on their server. This is true, but the person may have stuff already downloaded, so they may have their current feed. It might not be updated, and it should say how old the current feed is so the person knows it's not updated, but they should be able to still look at their feed. They should still be able to look at the back end stuff. Anything that doesn't require internet access, they should still be able to do it with literally no problem at all. So with that one in mind, the handling failures gracefully, that's where that comes in. Plus on top of that, you need to be able to allow them to retry as many times they need to in order to get connected. Because the fact is again, we are in a bottleneck right now. The bottleneck back in the day was computers and other devices. RAM, CPU, graphics, things of this nature. That's no longer the case. The bottleneck today is networking. Stuff I'm going to get my degree on is CCNA, CCNP, Cisco grade equipment, so internet grade equipment. That's the current bottleneck. And with that, we have to expect failures are going to happen once in a while. Keep the user's security in mind. This is very, very important. Security should never be the last thing thought of. In the planning stages, you should always think about the person's security before you even put one line of code down. Obviously, you're not going to know the security in detail until things are written, but still, you need to always design around security. Because why is it important? Well, one, again, you're trying to keep your customers. And you might say, well, if the person's not doing anything, they got nothing to hide. Well, what is the customs of one person, one family, one region, one, if you're in the United States, one state, one country, one part of the world from another. Literally customs from one family to the next, or even customs from one person inside of a single family to another person inside of the same family could be vastly different in some cases. Like my sister, she's not to call out stuff, but she's a drug addict, and that's her way of choosing. But the fact of the matter is she chose to go down a path of drinking drugs and going down that when she had opportunities outside of that. Well, I'm the opposite. I chose not to. I chose to stay away from alcohol. I chose to stay away from drugs. I chose to stay away from bad people and hang out with good people and surround myself around with success. Basically, the person has to have some type of success in their life, even if it's a family success, in order for me to even care enough to hang around them. Same thing happens here. Do you think she cares about security? Probably not. For me, yeah. Some people who I talk to ever so often, they may say, they literally say, I know this might be very personal, but where do you work? And for me, it's not that personal to say where I work, or like as far as the function I play in a workplace, or things of this nature. If I'm talking to someone in person, obviously online it's totally different because you got nut jobs out there. But to another person, that could be very personal. Why are you asking me about where I work or what function I play in a company? That's a very important thing to keep in mind, is your customers will be vastly different from each other, and it's best to play the safeguard and do security in mind. Plus, on top of that, the fact of the matter is legal obligation is you may run into, I'm not a lawyer, but you may run into some legal problems if you don't keep security in mind first. In fact, it's going more and more towards that, where if you don't have security in mind first, then the application gets hacked and information sent out. So someone is trying to put in their email address into their Facebook, and that gets leaked out. Overall, and legal, it's probably Facebook or whoever is making the application that connects to the Facebook. That's the simple fact, is security needs to be the forefront of your mind, especially the more and more you're getting into the realm of person's information. So in this particular application, we're going to be going into the location, and even this, to a huge degree, needs to be thought of as something sacred. There's no reason why something else needs to know this, unless if we have to directly give the information to it and the user knows it already. Because the user is also going to know when they ask their phone, what is the weather going to be like tomorrow? Well, they're going to know that the phone doesn't have the information already in it. They're going to have internet access. The phone's going to have some server somewhere. The server's going to talk back, and the phone's going to show the information based on whatever it came back with. Same thing. It's very important to realize that. But anyways, with that one in mind, I'm going to leave it here so we don't overload anyone. But if you do have any questions on this, then feel free to leave them in the comment section, and I'll try to answer as quickly as possible. And as far as that goes, if you like this, then leave a like, subscribe, and share. And I'll talk to you guys later. And hope you have a great day.